Invincible. Let's go with Invincible because I saw you do.
My
I
shit.
saw you do a video. I think it was a stitch or a reference to another video on Invincible, and it made me mad watching your video because you were talking about something that I planned to talk about. And I was like, oh man, I was gonna
Oh,
do this
really?
on the same thing because I did a video like later, but I was talking about Omni-Man and how
Mm.
I'm not defending Omni-Man. That's not the point here. I'll make that very clear. I am anti-Omni-Man.
Oh shit, he's about to say
If you
something
see, but
insane.
like, if you try to see the situation through Omni-Man's eyes, you can understand his thought process. Like Omni-Man is thousands of years old. His
Mm.
experience and knowledge of the universe and the nature of life incomprehensible to people like us. And
To us,
so
exactly.
he's he looks at human beings and of course he thinks he's superior. Like why wouldn't he? Just like
Why
how we
wouldn't you?
look at
Yeah.
fucking fruit bats and we're like, okay, all right, that's great and all, but you guys don't compare to
Right.
me or anything. And so his
Right.
son, on the other hand, is like, hey, Dad, these fruit bats, they have a good society going here. Like they have some great
Mm.
ideas. Like maybe they should be in charge for a while. Like, what are you insane? What are you talking
That's
about?
true.
Like, that's
Right.
how Omni Man sees it. And then when he goes to the bug planet, that's
Yeah.
meant to drive that same point home for us because the bug people
Hmm.
live for 1 year, and we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that's so far beneath us. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about the
Oh yeah.
character? I love. I didn't read the comics or anything like that, but I love the character of Omni Man for 100 reasons, and that's just one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Omni-Man has always been my favorite evil Superman trope. I think he's done so well because it takes the idea of like not what if Superman was inherently evil, like just a fucking psychopath like Homelander. It's more about what if Superman was raised in a society in which his strength and his like power was the focal point of that society. You know what I mean? And that is such an interesting question, and that's answered with Omni-Man. And like you said, I mean, thousands and thousands of years of being the strongest beings in the universe, being one of the most advanced beings in the universe, being, you know what I mean, the oldest beings in the universe and the most long lived. That is going to 100% turn you
Of
into a
course,
supremacist,
of
like
course,
regardless,
yeah.
100%. And so watching his redemption and him unlearning that, and I think they're gonna do it a lot better in the show than they did in the comics because in the comics it's pretty quick. But watching his redemption, having to unlearn, like, how do you unlearn thousands of years of indoctrination? Like, how do you do that as a being? How is
I,
that even possible?
I don't think it would even be possible. Like I don't like I
Right.
don't think it would be. Yeah, it
Yeah. Like
it
it doesn't seem feasible to me.
it
And so that's what makes his
um
redemption so interesting.
maybe because so I always say that the measure of maturation, at least by how
Mhm.
we view maturity, is essentially how many people you care about. So when you're an
Yeah.
infant, you only care about yourself because that's all you have the capacity of understanding. Like you cry, you don't give a
Right.
shit if it interrupts people, you don't care if it inconveniences anybody. You want to be held, you need your
True.
diaper changed, you're uncomfortable, you cry. It's all you can do. Then you become a toddler and you realize like, okay, I got my parents here and maybe a sibling or two, and they feed me and take care of me, so I love them. And then you get a little bit older and you have classmates and friends. You're like, okay, all right, I care about these folks. And then you get even older,
Mhm.
you're like, okay, I live in a society and you care about more and more
Yeah.
people. This is Republicans kind of stop at the toddler phase with like the caring about the
Yeah.
family, but most other normal people, like they learn like, oh, you care
Yeah.
about the world. And then you get to a point where, oh, I actually care about the feelings of animals, too, and so
Right.
that's how how we view maturation. But
Yeah. Mm.
man, if you're someone like Omni Man, like for example, like there's a point where that maturation ends, no matter how compassionate
Mm.
you are. Like, for example,
Yeah.
you don't go out of your way to hunt and kill mosquitoes for fun. You don't. But if you
Right.
do
You
kill
don't.
one, you won't lose a second of sleep over it. You're not. Like, you won't even
Exactly. Yeah.
remember it an hour later. And that's the level
Yeah.
Omni Man's at. And I just don't know if you could possibly deprogram that. It's fun to watch it, but in reality, I don't
Mhm.
think it could ever happen.
And that's the thing about the series is that like you're absolutely right. You see, you hit it entirely on the head with that, especially the comic books, because Omni-Man has his redemption arc, right? But when the Viltrumites fight, because they're going to be, in the future of the series, there's going to be a lot of fights on Earth. When the Viltrumites fight, including Omni-Man, including even Mark, when people die, and I mean like thousands of people die in the most gruesome of deaths, it hurts Mark a little bit. But by the end of the series, the amount of people that Mark has either like directly or indirectly like been involved in their deaths is astounding. It's actually crazy. And it hurts, he's sad about it, but
It hurts
it
less
doesn't
and less
seem
every
to
time, though. Like
every
it
time.
has
It,
to,
it
yeah.
doesn't seem to affect him that much on a fundamental level, because I think in some regard he recognizes that as a Viltrumite, as being as powerful as he is, on some level, like shit's just gonna happen. These things are just gonna happen. People are just gonna die, and so I'm excited to see how that plays out. But you're right, because it could never just be 100% that like they treat every life as individually sacred,
No
because
chance.
they're too
You
powerful for that.
mentioned the redemption arc for Omni-Man. And I wish I
Yeah.
want to take credit for this, but I saw someone else say it. I can't. I give her credit if I could, but they talked about how like the Invincible, like the audience is kind of split on the Omni-Man redemption arc, and it's like, but a
Yeah.
lot of people are on board. They're like, okay, look, look, the guy fucked up, but who hasn't, right? And so hey, yeah, he
Yeah.
learned his lesson. He's moving on, but there seems to be like people are still mad at Amber. Like more people are accepting Omni Man's redemption
Yeah.
than like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't believe Amber's such a wet blanket girlfriend. It's like, okay, you're gonna give Omni Man a pass, but
The
Amber, you're
pass.
like, nope, sorry,
So
no
weird.
can do, sir. That's been pretty funny to
It
observe as
is.
well.
Yeah, I do. That goes so in line closely, because there's so many elements to that racism, misogyny, that falls so deeply in line with. Do you this is kind of like this has to do what we're talking about, but it's about a different show. Do you remember the list just came out recently from IMDb's top 10 most hated characters of all time, and fucking
Oh,
Skylar White
Skylar
from
White. Yeah,
Breaking Bad
Skylar White was
made it
up
on.
there.
It was like number 3 or some shit. Like
Yeah.
the way women who are not
I
100% agreeable and like pawns get treated within fandoms is insane.
look,
You know what I mean?
I was surprised to see that because listen, I remember watching Breaking Bad seasons like 1 and 2. I didn't like Skylar either, but
Yeah.
after that, how how could you not like Skylar anymore? Like first, like
Yeah, I'm so confused.
she helps Walter, she joins out, she saves his ass multiple times, and then he gets caught and everything. Like Skylar didn't do anything like to
She didn't do
deserve
anything.
hatred after like the
Yeah.
15th episode of the show. And so I was like,
At
man,
most,
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
at most, she was just a slightly annoying wife. And, like that's nothing. That's nothing to sort of like wish genuine death over. Top 3 is insane, dude. Like it's actually so crazy because
Insanity. Like I can only imagine like
I
it's filled with people who only saw the first season, maybe. Like, and
yeah.
even then, like you can't blame her for acting the way she did. She didn't know what the hell was going on. Like
What
she
he
had
was
no.
lying to her over and
Yeah.
over,
It was
over and over. I would be a dickhead if my spouse was lying to me like every single chance that I asked them what I was going. And it's crazy because I always read her as the victim, and especially
exactly.
in the
She
later
is. Yeah.
seasons, like she's 100% a victim. She's Walt's first victim, and I thought that was pretty clear with the way the narrative was, that like she was somebody who was being manipulated and lied to and gaslighted all throughout the entire series. Like, yeah, she was a little annoying at first, but like when he started, being an actual drug lord, like it got to a point where he was being emotionally, physically, not physically, but emotionally abusive. He wouldn't leave when she asked him to leave after she found out he was lying about it. Like, these are things that like in the real world, like you would 100% be like, get this
Yeah.
man away from her. He's like, she's not safe in that environment. Not, oh fuck this bitch. I
Right.
can't wait for her
Like
to fucking die.
he like he like he openly admitted that he sent Jesse to murder Gail, like to her face. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh, she's the bad guy here. Like this is like
that's
he
so
just
crazy.
said, I don't
Yeah,
know. It's so weird, man. I don't. There's a
yeah.
lot of there's a lot of characters who are like, for example, like Hank. Hank is a
Mhm.
bad person, but he was a good
Yeah,
cop.
he is.
And well, I mean, he was
Yeah, he
good at,
was
yeah, and he
good
was
at his
right.
good at being a cop.
Yeah, good at being a cop. Yeah. And I don't get a question how good he was that his brother-in-law was the drug. He didn't catch him for years, but you know everything
Yeah, I
else.
know.
But you can see why
Yeah,
he was blinded by that. I mean, who wouldn't be? Uh, but
right.
I can see people not liking Hank, and people fucking love Hank. They love him because he's,
Everybody loves
oh,
Hank.
you know what it is? Hank is funny. Hank is funny. Hank
He is kind of
tells
funny.
a great joke, and he seems like a guy you'd want to drink with. It's
Yeah.
I I do this a lot with political discourse. Is that I
Mm,
uh I shit on, right wingers all the time, but I tell a lot of jokes while I'm doing it. And
mm.
one, because look, conservatives complain that, people on the left talk to them like children and shit. It's because we have no choice. Like you guys think like 10-year-olds. That's why we do it. Like we like your
No,
understanding of
seriously.
economics, of politics, of religion, of
Sociology.
culture, of history. It's like at a fifth grade level. Like in order for us
It
to get
is.
our message
It
across,
dead
we
ass
have to.
is.
But I
Yeah,
do
we have to.
sprinkle in a lot of humor. And
Mhm.
an example I use a lot is, has someone ever insulted you, but even you thought the insult was funny? Like you're like, God damn it. And like
Yeah.
it's hard to
Yeah.
be mad at someone who makes you
Yeah.
laugh. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And so I use
Yeah.
that a lot. And that's why we're with Hank. Skylar, light on the jokes. Skylar's pretty light on the jokes. And so I guess that maybe
She's
that's
yeah, she's a little boring. I'm not gonna lie. It's funny because you say that because I get why people think Hank was funny, but I just fucking he's like what an old white conservative man
yes.
thinks is funny. Like the beaner jokes and
I
like I was just like, this guy's it's fucking racist. Like this guy's he's a dick. Like, but I think the thing with Hank is that he was I guess given a lot more time to be a three-dimensional character. I
yes.
don't know if that's exactly right. But yeah,
But he
like
was.
he, because you could yeah, he had his good part, like his good qualities and his bad qualities, and some of those shone through. He loved his wife, and he was actually a good uncle to Junior, to Walt Jr. And just in some ways, like was a decent person. Like he was a bad person, and so leading up to the point where he finally dies, like even though you're like, okay, he was a dick, like you
He
still spent enough time with him to have been like, he didn't deserve that.
Yeah, he
Like
didn't
he didn't.
deserve to die. That's yeah, it's like exactly like he
Yeah,
didn't have it. And for all the victims though, like you feel less bad for Hank than others because Hank he signed up for the job. He knew how dangerous it was.
it's
And
true. It's
like
true.
other people who, like civilians are like, okay, that's kind of fucked up. But hey, Hank knew the rules and everything.
Mm.